suit on. You guys, just for you. Do you want me to dress up each week? I love that. Then I'm going to expect the same. I'm going to expect the same. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that. Especially from Matt. I mean, how are you going to, really? That's all we got? Oh, okay. The guys would like you. You're representing well. No, I wear little pads, but no, I know you're going to wear socks. All right. Great to be back. Obviously, it's game week. Everybody's excited. Excitement is a part of college football and passions. We've got a passionate fan base. They have high expectations. We have high expectations. But like I've said to you, we've been working on this since January. After our Baylor win, the bowl game, we went to work on our roster, our process in developing this football team, so that when we get to these moments, right, it's having a team that is confident, that plays the game the right way in a hostile environment. Many would say composure, maturity, and they've got to play with great competitiveness. Each and every play is going to be important for us. So, when you're putting together the DNA of a football team, it's not just about talent acquisition. It's making sure that you have the pieces necessary to compete in those moments, right? When there's a turnover, when there's sudden change, when momentum's not going your way, what's the makeup of your team? And so I like the makeup, but I want to have this conversation with you after the game, that we competed the right way, right? That our composure was amazing. And we played with great confidence. That's the post-game remarks that we want. But that's why we play the game. But my point being is that we've been at this and working at this and developing these things within our football team for the past 9 months. Now let's go play against a really good team on the road in what will be a very alive atmosphere, one that is difficult to duplicate. So you make sure you recruit the right guys. And this is a team that we were very intentional about in terms of going out and getting mature players that can stand up to those moments. So, look, I could give you a litany of things about who's ranked who and, what they say about them. It's about going out and playing. And all of this preparation needs to lead into the three things that I just mentioned in our performance. Again, we had some news that I'll update that you guys already know about. We awarded number 18 to Garrett Nussmeier. I like the fact that we've kind of centered back to the quarterback position because that's the history of 18. Started with Flint. Look, to me, I learn the history of this, every day, right? And to have Matt Mock as that guy is important to us. And being the quarterback and what he represents, it is Matt, right? Okay. I had a Mock play for me at Cincinnati, so sometimes I get the first names mixed up. But to have, Matt Mock and what he represented in 2003 coming out and leading to a championship and bringing it back to a quarterback, I think sends a great message about the history and tradition of 18. 7, Harold Perkins still wears number 7. Look, anybody could make an argument for 7 to go to somewhere else. And the great part about it is we had a lot of players on a team, but Harold didn't get a full year to wear 7. And he wants to finish it out. He wanted to wear 7. He wanted to have his best season in 7. And having it cut short last year, he gets the opportunity to wear 7. We named 2 captains, Garrett and Whit, Garrett Nussmeier and Whit Weeks. They represent both sides of the ball. We also will have each and every week, 2 game day captains, because I believe we just have a lot of guys that have earned that opportunity. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of the background in terms of, where 18 started with Mock and now where it is with Nussmeier. And then 7, obviously, you can make the case for a number of guys that have their roots from the state of Louisiana as a playmaker. We just felt like it was right to have Harold finish off with 7 because he didn't get really the opportunity to do so. So that's a little bit of within our own program itself. Clemson, obviously, a top-ranked team. Whatever poll you're looking at, it's a top 5 team. They reached the CFP. I know Coach very well. 13 seasons at 10 wins. They're the epitome of consistency at the highest level. I think everybody talks about their defensive players in particular, but offensively, Cade Klubnik is, I think, a quarterback that played his best ball at the end of the year, and is a dual threat. 3 seasons as a starting quarterback, we've made a lot of that in terms of how important it is to come back for a second year. He's coming back for his 3rd year, which I think says a lot about him. Peter Woods, obviously a guy that we're going to have to deal with inside. Parker off the edge is going to require a lot of attention, or they're going to ruin your day. Offensively, I obviously mentioned Cade, who we have a lot of respect for, but a veteran offensive line coming back, playmakers on the outside. Williams and Wesco are outstanding receivers. So you guys already know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. This is going to be a great challenge, one that we're excited about, one that we're up for. Any goal that you put out there, it's not worthwhile unless it's a challenge. And so this will be a great challenge that our kids are excited about. So that's all I have. Excited to get going and get ready for Clemson. Questions?
Coach, right down here, you talked about bringing in the right guys, and we've talked about this all fall camp. Going into this game, having a center like Braylon Moore who's played a lot, what does that do for the rest of your offensive line and kind of settling some things down? I know you guys have been working through some battles in fall camp.
Yeah, it does that. I mean, certainly the intentions here to get to the press conference that I want is that we brought in some veteran players that in this environment at Clemson, he's been through it. He opened up against Clemson last year as the starting center at Virginia Tech, So he knows what it's like to play against Woods. He's got that experience. So when you go on the road and you play in an environment like that, you want to bring in veteran guys that, bring that composure and leadership and experience, right? Experience is the greatest teacher. So that means a lot, clearly, that, he'll have a great influence on the offensive line.
I think we'll get the injury report Thursday. Is there anything that we need to know early in that regard?
No, I think, we had a couple of bumps and bruises, as most would, but I would think that at this point right now, as I stand in front of you, we expect everybody to be available to us.
You talked about competition and how good it was for your team. You had a couple of positions that felt like they were still, undecided, I guess. Is it important to shore that up, or are you going to use this last week all the way up into kick?
Yeah, I don't know that you always need a static 22. You don't want everybody in a position where you're rotating every single player, but there will be a couple of positions where we'll have some rotation, and I think it will be good for us. I think it makes us better. And so, we look at, different battles, right? We're going to play a number of defensive ends and defensive tackles. It's because we'll be better because of it. I think the same thing would be true on the offensive line. You're going to see more than just 5 guys out there. You'll see, at least 6 or 7, could be as many as 8 offensive linemen playing for us. Oh, yeah. It's okay to rotate offensive linemen in. They can do that too.
Hey, Coach, unless you want to name a starter at that left guard spot right now, what is maybe one positive, or what's kind of one strength of each of those 3 guys between Chester, Mabenga, and Eccles, and kind of what do you want to see this week from the group?
That's a good question. I think each one brings a little bit different. Paul actually moves very well for us, right? He can handle movements. He's been more consistent from that standpoint. DJ, you love the fact that he played so much football for you last year. He is in a new position if he is at the guard position from the center position, but we like his size, we like his smarts, we like his experience. And then with Cohen, he's physically strong, so if you get into a one-on-one matchup against an elite defensive tackle, he can hold his own physically. And so each one of them brings a little bit to the table, if you will, and that's why most likely you're going to see them all playing.
With how you approach the transfer portal, I know you've said in the past that you want to build through the high school ranks and then supplement with transfer guys. Was there a point where that kind of philosophy shifted for you this past off season, or do you still want to get back to that, to where you're going into the portal sparingly?
I'll building a program, right, unfortunately takes some time. And the time element, nobody wants to hear about. I get it. I understand everybody's want to win the national championship this year. I want to win it as well. But the reality of it is we had some work to do. And that work was building a foundational piece in this program that was built on consistency and high standards on a day-to-day basis. And so that takes some time. We weren't ready to bring in guys from the outside until our own program was in a really good space. And so it took us a few years. And I felt like this year we were in a place where we could invite people into our locker room, transfers, if you will. So that's the long and short of it. I've been doing it for over 3 decades, and putting together teams every year is a little bit of art and a little bit of science. If it was just add water and stir, you don't need me, So I use my experience and my sense that when's the right time to add people to the roster, and I felt like this year was the right time. I thought we had the underpinnings of a program that was in a good place. There was some consistency being built. 19-2 at home over the last 3 years. There was some things to build off of with 3 bowl wins. No, that's not the national championship. I get it. But behind Alabama and Georgia, we've won more SEC games than anybody else. So there were enough things there for me to say, all right, we're moving in the right direction. Let's go get some veteran players that when you go on the road against Clemson, they've done that. And you don't have to go teach it from the sideline again. And so that's really where we are at. And where we'll move next year might be a little bit different. It might be extremely talented freshmen playing for the first time. And you live with some of the mistakes because they're incredibly talented. I don't know what the future holds. I'm focused on right now. I know it was a long answer, but I wanted to make sure it was clear.
Seeing them from afar, it appears that their run game is something that they are figuring out, right? What do you see in their run game, and how much, as you mentioned, does Cade factor into that? And do you need to be prepared?
Well, he's I would say central to their run game. And look, I mean, you can go back to last year's Texas A&M game. We didn't handle ourselves very well, or the Alabama game, whoever you want to point out. South Carolina, I could keep going. I'd like to stop right there. We didn't do a very good job against a running quarterback. So it's important that we contain him within the run game. Look, he's going to do things outside the realm. That's what he does. He's really good at that. We got to keep him in the pocket and make him operate from the pocket. But their run game is certainly part of what they do. But they've got a lot of things from an offensive standpoint that you have to defend, and there's only a few things you can do. You want to play fast. You want to play physical. You want to make sure that you don't give up the big shots. They like to get big shots down the field. And then you've got to stop the quarterback from really hurting you run the ball. That's kind of central to what we're looking at.
Brian, can you clarify on Garrett from Saturday? He didn't throw any passes. Why?
Yeah, when you get into the camp situation, we have I know it's not a great analogy, but we have a pitch count where we want to take our quarterback's load off, and all the installation was in, Matt. We were done with installation. So this was just more throwing. We wanted to wait and get into Clemson in game week. And so he'll be out there on Tuesday, practicing full.
And then opponent notwithstanding, how different or do you feel differently about your team at this point coming out of camp week 1 than the previous 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an evolution, right? Each year you're developing depth, you're developing a DNA within your team where you know much more about them in terms of what to expect. But I think at the end of the day, this is about depth and probably the most depth in the roster. Now, we still got to go out and play and perform at the highest level, but I would just say what's different is it's a mature group that has played a lot of football, and we're not going into a game where we can't handle the moment.
Coach, everyone's excited about the receivers and obviously how deep that room is. Without giving anything away, can we or should we expect to see more 12 personnel, especially against a front like Clemson has?
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to get your best players on the field, and we could probably put 5 receivers on the field and not have a running back there and say that those are your 5 best, right? But that's not really the way the game's played. You have to be tactical in what you do and matching up against what defenses do. So, yeah, 12 makes sense for us. Will we feature it from a percentage standpoint 80% of the time? Probably not, but I think it's going to have a good mix in what we do because it's smart to put Trades Green and Bauer Sharp on the field. If it wasn't smart, I'd probably stay away from 12 and be good somewhere else. So it's using your own personnel that you have. It's being tactical against your defense. And then it's trying to find that balance of how do you get those receivers on the field as well, because you're pulling one off the field when you go 12. So it's a little bit of everything.
Coach, you obviously mentioned how explosive their pass rush is. How has Caden Durham looked?
Did I mention that?
I think you did,
Okay.
yeah.
Good. I want to make sure I mention it again. It's explosive.
How has Caden Durham looked as a pass protector,
he's
sort of helping out, and what's his progress look like from last year?
Oh, yeah, we have a high standard, and you guys all know this, that follow us. Josh Williams was, as good as there is, right? And so that actually left a really good standard for watching film and showing our backs, this is how you have to help in these kinds of situations when you're called on. But Caden does a really good job. I think Coach Wilson is, if there's one thing that he is really a stickler on, it's you got to protect. And if you want to get on the field, you can't be a liability there. And I think all those kids have done a nice job.
Hey, Coach, just simply, how much has your defense improved? I know you won't know until they get on the field and play, but your personnel that you've added, what you've seen in camp, how much better do you think they are?
I just think there's a lot of confidence back there. And so how do you measure confidence? It's just the way they handle themselves, the way they play. They believe in themselves. There's a trust factor that they're going to go make a play. I think it starts with confidence. Confidence comes from playing the game, Jacques, right? A lot of those guys that are back there now have played a lot of football. They're experienced players. And when you bring that experience forward, things like confidence come out, high competitive drive. So, look, we got to put it all together. Like, that's why there's great anticipation going into Saturday. But, I think I have a trained eye as to what I'm looking at, and what I see more than anything else is a group that's very confident.
Brian, I really don't think we've had a chance to ask you about Gabe Relaford this preseason practice. What have you seen from him? I know when we visited with him in the spring, he talked about accepting the challenge once you guys brought in the 3 defensive ends. And what did you notice from him? How has he just sort of accepted that challenge?
I think that we're very pleased with the way he's accepted the challenge, right? He hasn't backed down from it. I think he's seen it as an opportunity for him to show that he's the best at that, instead of well, woe's me, they brought in competition. I just think he's handled it with the right mindset. And because of that, he's improved. I mean, he's physical. I mean, he brings a physical presence at that position. And so now you add, Patrick and, you add, a number of those guys, Pyburn, Jamari, Butler. I mean, it's a deep, deep group of defensive ends. And Gabe has stood out because he's accepted the challenge more so than anything else.
Coach, as you know, we are on a 5-game losing streak for season openers.
I don't think in those terms. I think about this year.
Okay.
So what's going on this year is what I think about.
So you've been saying that you're very confident in this team. You've been working on consistency and everything. What are you expecting from the offense and the defense from this Saturday and to make it to the national
To play their very best. Those are my expectations. We put in a lot of time. As I said, we've been working on this since January. If we could just write in the score and know exactly what's going to happen, this would be pretty easy. But we've been with this group for 9 months, and I really like our team. I like the way that they have worked. Whatever we've asked them to do, they've done it. We're going to go out and compete, and we'll figure out what happens after that. But I'm proud of the guys and the way that they have looked at this challenge in front of them and winning and having a successful weekend. But other than that, we just kind of stay focused on our day-to-day process.
Hey, Coach, right over here to your left. The last several weeks, it really looks like over fall camp, you put a lot of stress on red zone, blue zone work, particularly on offense. Just what kind of strides have you seen maybe in the offense this year or this offseason that leads you to believe there's going to be some confidence that you guys are going to be able to score inside the 20, inside the 10 pretty consistently?
Well, you mentioned it as though we were not very good on offense last year. I thought we were pretty good. We needed to be better, right? We needed to be better, especially in those zones. So, when you have a veteran quarterback, and Garrett, a guy that can come back, you can be a lot more situational in your work. When you have a younger quarterback there or hasn't, had the experience, you want to make sure that you cover everything. So, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of, why we kind of were able to pull him out of some practices and keep him fresh is because he's seen a lot of that stuff. We actually want to do a lot of that work for our younger players too, and get both Michael and Colin a lot of work in that situational offense, which is crucial to winning games because that's where the points are scored. Big difference. We go back to the USC game, we kicked field goals instead of touchdowns. And that was obviously the difference in that game. So I'm not saying that we did more of that because of the USC game. I'm saying that we did that because of the younger quarterbacks, that we wanted that situational work for them. And obviously, it's very important in your overall scheme of things.
Hey, Coach, you had mentioned that on your radio show that the roster cost about $18 million. I was wondering if you can approximate about just what the portal class, those 18 cost, if you could.
I'd have to look at my notes for that. I was commenting strictly on what the revenue share piece was going to be. I saw the revenue share piece because that's already been given to us. And then there was other money spent, obviously, through NIL and third party. But in terms of giving you the exact numbers, I'd have to sit down and pull it off a sheet in front of me, and I just don't have that in front of me.
You've had to supplement that DB room through the portal and high school recruiting, all that in recent years. I remember a couple years ago that Denver induced class, you were asked what you thought they would be like, and you said, I just want to see them in games. I don't want to comment on it. I imagine you still want to see them, but you talk about a trained eye. What's your thought seeing guys like Halsey and Cooley and Mansour who have played a lot of football?
They have practiced. They have competed in the manner that we thought that they would. They attack every practice They're our hardest workers. That, in my experience, has proven to be the differentiator between those guys that haven't played a lot of football and have. They show it in practice too. They play with a swagger. I'll give you an example. They make plays in practice and they're not doing the sword thing and, all that stuff. They're like, next play. Bring on the next play. And to me, those little nuances show I'm confident. It's kind of like the old adage, you hear it all the time. You get in the end zone, give the ball to the official that you expect to be there again instead of 18 different dances. Now, I'm not against any of that stuff. I don't want to sound like the old guy here that doesn't like excitement. But you asked a question, and I'm answering it based upon what I see. And what I see is when a guy does that and he hands it to the official, he truly believes he's coming back in the end zone. And so I see a lot of that on the field. Now, we got to go play. I get it. But in answering your question, those are the things I see. It's both. It just depends. I've got you locked up. It's also victory. It is a seatbelt for most of them. We have new ones now. You guys got to keep up. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Would you like to see the NCAA approve exhibition games for college, like one exhibition game, or approve, like in NFL, a shared scrimmage because you can work out these kinks before you play a game like this? Would you like to see that approved?
I mean, I thought it was the rage, and now you see NFL teams backing out of them. Why are they backing out of them? Because they're really physical, and it puts your guys at risk. And, yeah, I know there's preseason games, but there's a lot of union work going on in those preseason games. I guess I'd have to think about it more to have a definitive answer. I think there's some things I do like about it, but sometimes you bring in another team and they have something that they want to prove against you, and they're not in the right emotional zone. They do some things that maybe put you at risk with your top guys. And so, again, I don't want to be that, hey, yes or no. I'd have to see more of it, and my initial feeling is we'd have to be very careful with it. Good, thank you. Seatbelt buckle, but now you got the... It's like, really? You making this stuff up? We just threw one over your head. But now it's a great play.